Hello student, welcome to the Electrical Engineering second year Power Generation Technology course. Today's lectures we have to study about the first unit, the first concept, that is the thermal power stations. Okay, I am Professor C.R. Shinde and now we are going to be started the first unit. First we are going to be introduced what we are going to be studied under this first unit. The first unit is firstly we are going to be studied the basic thermodynamic cycles. Then we have to see about the thermal power plants, various site selections, what are the major parts and its working. And that's major parts having a classifications. Each and every classifications we have to see in details in these lectures. Then we have to study about the fuel handling and the wastage disposal and how we can collect the dust. These are the main points we are going to be covered in the first unit. And for this first unit, according to university, it is given 10 hours to complete this first unit syllabus. Okay, so one by one lectures we are conducting in order to cover the whole syllabus in details as per according to Savitribai Phule Pune University. So the first concept is nothing but the thermodynamic cycles. So that's why we are going to study what is the meaning of thermodynamics. So the thermodynamics is a branch of the physics that deals with the heat and temperatures and their relations to the energy, work, radiation and the property of metals. Means according to these definitions it is clear that thermodynamics is nothing but the physics and it's giving the informations about the heat and temperature as per according to what amount of energy is available and what amount of work done is happening there. Okay. So as the title is indicating, thermo is stand for the thermal, that is the heat, and dynamics nothing but their ups and downs informations can be shared by this branch. So that's why thermodynamics. So in short, we have to study that the thermodynamics is a branch which giving a detailed informations about the heat and temperature and they are correlated with the energy, work, radiations and the property of metals. Before we are going to be studied the thermodynamics, first we have to know that the difference between heat and temperature. What is the difference between heat and temperature? The heat is in the form of the energy, and whenever the molecules having a kinetic and potential energy both can be measured, that times we call it as heat. Okay. What happens? Whenever the heat energy is assigned to the molecules gain the energy and it start the vibrating. So behind that vibrations, there is a two types of energies available. First one is the kinetic energy. Second one is the potential energy. And if we measure the total energy, that is nothing but kinetic plus kinetic plus potential energy. That times we call it as the heat energy. But in case of temperature, so temperature measures the average kinetic energy of molecules in the substances. In the substances, molecules having a both potential energy and kinetic energy for their vibration. Okay, but if we only measure the kinetic energy and we are taking the average of that kinetic energy throughout the substances, that times we call it as the temperature. And that's why the unit of the heat and the temperature is also different. So unit of the heat we have to measure in the joule, and unit of the temperatures we have to measure in the Kelvin or degree Celsius or Fahrenheit. It is also additional information giving the feature of the heat that travels from the hot regions to the cold regions. The heat is always travel from the hot regions to cold regions. So that is the basic difference between the heat and the temperatures. Entropy. So one by one terms we are going to be studied the thermodynamics. This is the entropy is one of the terms of the thermodynamics, and it can be given or indicated by the capital S. So these terms is representing the availability thermodynamics quantity availability in the systems, means what amount of thermal energy is available in the systems and how they can be converted into mechanical energy. Means what amount of thermal energy is available and what amount of they can be converted into mechanical energy or mechanical work done. Then that terms we call it as the entropy of thermodynamics or simply entropy. There is a two terms is given. If the heat is absorbed, then entropy can be increased, and if the heat is rejected, then entropy is decreased. Why? Because the formula of the entropy is nothing but change in heat. Capital Q is nothing but the heat, change in heat per unit absolute temperature. So that's why change in thermal energy per unit absolute temperature, that is nothing but entropy. Means it is shows that the relation of change in entropy depends upon the change in heat. If the heat is absorbed, so obviously the entropy goes on increasing, and if the heat is rejected, then obviously the entropy goes on decreasing. Now these are the basic component of thermal power stations, in which main components are: first one main major component is the boiler, second one is the steam turbine, then condenser and heat pumps, and lastly generators. Boilers having a main functions to convert the feed water into steam by utilizing the combustions from the coal. Okay, means we are taking the heat energy from the burning of coal, and that heat energy we are utilized to convert the feed water which is supplied by the feed pump to the boiler. Heat pump supplied feed water to the boiler, so that feed water we are going to be converted into steam. Here steam can be available in these pipelines, so that steam is provided to the steam turbine. The main function of steam turbine is to convert the kinetic energy of steam into mechanical energy, and that mechanical energy is giving to the generator, and generator is the component that convert the mechanical energy available at the input to the electrical energy. But after the successful utilization of steam in the steam turbine, then the steam can be exit. So we call that exit steam as an exhausted steam. Exhausted steam, and this is the only the entering steam is only we call it as steam. Okay, or we call it as a high pressure saturated steam. At the entry level, there is a high pressure saturated steam is available, but at the exit level, there is a low pressure and wet steam is available. So that's why in combinedly we call it as an exhausted steam. So that exhausted steam from the steam turbine is now giving to the condenser. The main function of condenser to condensate the exhausted steam, means decrease the temperature of that exhausted steam by absorbing the heat. Okay, so the heat can be absorbed by the cold water which is enter into the condenser, that can absorb the heat, and it can be again exit to the hot water. So cold water is converted into hot water by absorbing the heat energy. So that's why in this region condenser, the condensations can be done. So here the water is using as a coolant for the condenser. After the condensation done, the condensed steam, the exit of this condenser, the steam is now condensed steam is giving to the feed water, where the feed water pump as well as the compressor is there. The main function of this feed pump is to increase the pressure of this water which contain a steam plus water, or we call it as the vapor contained water or water contained vapors like that. So that provided to the again to the boiler. So in order to provide the feed water to the boiler, so the pressure at feed pumps is required to be high as compared to the pressure at boiler. So that's why we called the feed pump has a first main function is to create a pressure which is more than the boiler pressure. Okay, and only that times the feed water or water which is available at feed pumps is going to be supplied to the boiler tank. And again boiler tank, boiler is a component that convert that feed water into steam, and this process is continuously cycle mode. Okay, so in this way our thermal power plant is basically working, and this is the short description about the basic components and why and how they are arranged in this way, because they are required to be like this. So there is, you have to conclude that during boiler process or boiling process, the heat is absorbed. So obviously the entropy is goes on increasing. In this case we call it as 2 to 3 process. 2 to 3 process is indicated by the boiler, and during condensations we are rejecting the heat. Okay, so that's why the heat energy can be rejected during this 4 to 1 region. We call it as the condensation. Means during the boiling action, the heat is absorbed by the system, and during the condensation, heat is rejected by the systems. Okay, so that's why whatever the at position 1, the initial state of the process is can be converted into high pressure steam. High pressure steam converted into low pressure steam. Again it can be condensed, and again it can be converted into a original state. Means from the initial state it can be becomes to be another state, and from another state is again back to the initial state. So this process we called as a simply cycle, and there is a heat can be adding at the boiling process, and heat can be rejecting from the condensation process. So that's why the heat is added, heat is rejecting. So that's why there is a thermodynamics can be happening. Thermodynamics, nothing but there is a thermal ups and downs is there. So that's why we call the thermal power plant is working on the thermodynamics cycle, because in thermal power plant the two processes mainly happening: adding the heat and rejecting the heat. Adding the heat at the boiler point, rejecting the heat at the condenser point. Okay, so that's why we have to see the step by step. So basic terms of the thermodynamics we have to well known about the compressions, expansions, isothermal, and adiabatic. So one by one terms we are going to be discuss here. What is the compression? As all of you is well known about that, the compressions is affecting on the various terms which is regarding or related to the thermodynamics. The first one terms is the pressure, second one terms is the volume, and third one is the temperature. Whenever there is a compressions, so volume obviously goes on decreasing. Whenever there is a compression, so volume is goes on decreasing, and as the volume is goes on decreasing, so pressure is increasing. Why? Because the pressure and volume is inversely related to each other. Okay, so pressure and volume are inversely related. So compressions is nothing but the decreasing volume, and decreasing volume is nothing but the increasing pressure. Again, the pressure is correlated to the temperature, so the temperature is going to be increased. Why? Because the pressure is going to be increased. If the pressure is increased, then the temperature is also increased. Why? Because the pressure and temperature both are directly proportional to each other. Okay, so it can be given by the arrow. During the compressions, pressure is increasing. Exactly opposite process is the expansion. During the expansion process, volume is goes on increasing, and that's why the pressure is goes on decreasing. So here each and every arrow indicate what is the exactly affecting the compression process as well as the expansion process. So you have to keep in mind during the compressions, during the compression, the volume is decreasing, pressure is increasing, and hence the temperature is increasing. During the expansion, the pressure is decreasing, volume is increasing, whereas the temperature is decreasing. Okay, these two terms you have to better known by using a pressure cooker. Okay, the pressure cooker is the best example of the compressions. The pressure cooker has increased the pressure by decreasing the volume. Okay, and that's why the temperature is goes on increasing. So the heat energy we are required to boil the food is much amount of less as compared to the without pressure cookers if we boil the food. So that indicating the compression and expansion process. Now the second one terms is the isothermal. As the terms is indicating isothermal, So what is the meaning of ISO? ISO is nothing but the same, and already we have to know that thermal is nothing but the temperature. So isothermals you have to keep in mind same temperature, means there is a changing in the system, the boiler to steam turbine to condenser, condenser to feed pump. So there is a change, but there is a constant temperature. Isothermally we say it as the same temperature. Then another one is the adiabatic. Adiabatic process is nothing but no exchange between the system and environment. So during the adiabatic process there is no any exchange between the system and environment. Here in this case of our system, here in this case of these systems we call it as the thermal power stations. There is no any exchange between our thermal power stations or surrounding environments. That systems or that process we called is as a adiabatic process. Okay. Now the Carnot vapor cycle, the first thermodynamic cycles, it can be giving the basic arrangement of the boiler, then steam turbine, then obviously condenser, and fourth one is very important, feed pumps. It can be giving the numbers also. So 1 to 2 there is a feed pumps, 2 to 3 there is a boiler, and 3 to 4 sections there is a turbine, and again 4 to 1 sections there is a condenser. So in this process it can be showing that the thermodynamics T versus S graph. T versus S graph is nothing but temperature versus entropy graph. So during this process we have to see that 1 to 2 what exactly happened. 1 to 2. So temperature at T1 is goes on increasing up to temperature at T2, but the entropy, if we see the entropy in this case, if we see the entropy is exactly constant. So constant entropy is there, nothing but there is no absorbing of heat. Why? Because the entropy S is nothing but change in heat energy per unit absolute temperature. Entropy is depends upon the heat absorb or heat reject, that is nothing but change in heat. So constant entropy, the temperature is increasing from T1 to T2 during the process of 1 to 2. Now see in the diagrams what is exactly happening in the 1 to 2. So 1 to 2 is there is a feed pumps can increase the pressure of water which is available from the condenser up to boiler pressure. So we are going to be increase the pressure. So pressure increasing is nothing but directly proportional to the temperature. So obviously, so temperature is also increased. So pressure increased by the feed pumps, which is ultimately affecting the temperature increase in the system. So that's why here it can be shown that from 1 to 2, feed pumps increase the pressure. So temperature is increasing from T1 to T2 with a constant heat energy, with a constant entropy. There is no addition of it. But during this process we are not adding any heat. Okay. Now in case of second to third, now if we see, these are the second and these are the third one process. Okay, second to third process you have to see that at temperature is constant, but 2 to 3 process their entropy is going to be changes like that up to this point. Okay, so 2 to 3 we are adding the heat, so obviously there is a increase in the entropy, and with constant temperature T2, and we have to already discuss the isothermal process. So isothermal is nothing but same temperature. So 2 to 3 there is a isothermals can be done. Okay, 2 to 3 there is a isothermals can be done. Then during the process of 3 to 4, you have to see that the graph is goes to the down like that, 3 to 4. Okay, so 3 to 4 is indicating that with a constant heat energy, with a constant entropy, the temperature is goes on to be changing from T2 to T1. Okay, so there is a adiabatic process is there. Okay, because there is a change in temperature, but there is no any exchange between the thermal power plant or environment during the 3 to 4 process. So during 3 to 4 process, what exactly happen? Turbine is there, so the high pressure steam is available, and whenever the steam can be worked done in the steam turbine, so they can lose their pressure, so pressure is obviously decreasing. If the pressure is decreasing, pressure is directly proportional to temperature, and that's why here it can be showing that, so 3 to 4 the temperature is goes on decreasing like that. Okay, the next process is nothing but 4 to 1. 4 to 1, what exactly happen? 4 to 1, there is a condenser is there. Okay, so condensation process is again, heat can be rejected, heat can be minus, so there is a heat, there is an entropy. So 4 to 1, there is again rejection of heat, nothing but heat can be subtracted from the system, and that's why the entropy can be decreasing. Heat is decreasing, so the entropy can be decreasing. So 4 to 1, it can be showing the entropy can be decreasing, but at a constant temperature. We are not going to be changing the temperature during condensation. Okay, so this process indicating the 1 to 2 process is an adiabatic compression process. Okay, 2 to 3 process, it's an isothermal expansion process. 2 to 3, there is a boiler. Okay, 3 to 4 process, there is a expansion, but it's an adiabatic expansion. 3 to 4, 3 to 4, there is a steam turbine. Expansion is there, but adiabatic, there is means there is a exchange, no exchange between the system and surrounding. And during 4 to 1, there is again a isothermal expansion. With a constant temperature, we are going to be changed 4 to 1 like that. Okay, so these are the Carnot vapor cycles, and students shall able to explain each and every process. So first one process, it's all about the 1 to 2, what exactly happened. 2 to 3, what exactly happened. 3 to 4 and 4 to 1. So these 4 points, each and every point contains at least 4 to 5 statement regarding to thermodynamics. What exactly happened with the pressure, what exactly happened with the temperature, and what exactly happened with the volume. Is there isothermals, is there expansions, or is there any adiabatic process? You have to explain it. Then next one cycles, we have to see the Rankine cycles. There is a certain drawbacks in the Carnot cycle, so that's why we have to move toward the this Rankine cycles, in which what is the difference? We are going to be added a superheater. Why we are added superheater? Because the boiler converting water into steam, but that steam is directly applied to the steam turbine, so the steam is containing some water vapors, some water droplets is there. Okay, so that water droplet is directly affecting the turbine blades, and that's why the corrosion or some like cracks is going to be there. Okay, so all these are affecting the age of the steam turbine. So age of the steam turbine is drastically reduced if we use Carnot vapor cycles. Why? Because the boiler steam directly applied to the turbine. Now, in order to avoid that disadvantage, drawbacks of the Carnot, we have to introduce the next one, Rankine vapor cycles, and here we are going to be added a superheater in between boiler and turbine. So that superheated role in this Rankine vapor cycle, what is the function of the superheater in the Rankine vapor cycle? So obviously, whatever the steam is available from the boiler, it's a wet stream. We have to convert that wet steam into a dry saturated stream, extremely dry steam. There is no any water droplets in that vapors. That is only the functions of the superheaters, and that extremely dry saturated steam we have to apply it on the steam turbine. And obviously the drawbacks or the damaging of the turbine blades or the corrosion effect or the reduction in the aging effect can be totally eliminated only and only if we introduce the superheater in between boiler and turbine. That is only the difference between the Rankine vapor cycle. Okay, then again another change is nothing but heater. There is a heater is placed in between the feed pumps and boilers. Why? Boiler convert water into steam by utilizing the combustion of coal, the heat energy from the combustion of coal. After the combustion of coal, much amount of the flue gases can be exhausted from the boiler, and it can be given to the chimney and directly escape to the environment, outer environment. So that flue gas is having a certain amount of temperature, and that certain amount of temperature we have to utilize for heating the water before we are introduced to the boiler. If we introduce the feed pump water directly to the boilers, so having a very low temperature, it's having a very minimum amount of temperature is there, and that minimum amount or low temperatures is required to be converted into steam. So boiler efficiency or work done required to be boiler is much more as compared to the if we introduce the heater, so that normal temperature water is firstly heated by the heater, and that hot water is introduced to the boiler. So obviously the efficiency of the boiler is goes on increasing just by introducing the heater in between boiler and heat pumps. And for that input of the heaters, we are not giving any auxiliary, or we are not make a investment, additional investment about the heater. Just the temperature of flue gases we are giving input to the heater. So the temperature of flue gases is utilized by the heater in order to heat up the water from the feed water and directly introduced to the water in order to increase the efficiency of boiler. Okay. So these are the two main changes in the Rankine vapor cycles. Another one is nothing but steam turbine is same, and the condensation process is same, like that's condensation process. Okay. Again, another the coolant, hot water, cold water and hot water we are going to be utilized in order to reject the heat from the exhausted steam. Now we have to see the graph of T versus S for the Rankine vapor cycle. The graph is going to be changed as compared to the Carnot vapor cycles. And if you observe the graph of Carnot as well as the Rankine vapor cycle, it is seen that the area of the graph is goes on increasing. So area under this graph is much more as compared to the Carnot vapor cycles. And if the area is increasing, is nothing but the cycle is more and more efficient. Okay, nothing but the system is efficient, and we want to increase the efficiency of the thermal power plant, because the thermal power plant overall efficiency is very low. It's all about 30 to 40%. So temperature versus entropy graph shown that 1 to 2, there is again heat pumps. It can be increasing the temperature. How it can be increasing the temperature? By combustion of coal? No, not oppositely. The feed pump can increase the temperature by compression, because the feed pumps as well as there is a compression is there. Feed pumps plus compression is available there. So whenever there is a compression, so pressure is goes on increasing, and the pressure is directly proportional to temperature. So obviously the temperature goes on increasing from 1 to 2. So FP is nothing but short form here I am written for the feed pump. Then after feed pumps there is a heater can be added. So heater can be again adding the heat is nothing but increase in the some amount of entropy. So see that, so that much amount of entropy can be increased there 2 to 3 by the utilization of heater. Okay, then 3 dash to 3 double dash there is a boiler. It can be again with a same temperature, it can be adding the heat energy by combustion of coal. And 3 dash to 3, that is a very important aspect. Once the superheated can be done, so superheated is also increasing the entropy as well as the temperature, and that is giving a very high or very large amount of advantages to this cycle, as well as the area is can be increased by this superheater. Okay, so superheated can adding the heat as well as it can be increase the temperature, and then at turbine the high pressure can be slowly come down like that up to 4, and the pressure is decreasing is nothing but temperature is goes on decreasing. So 3 to 4 there is a steam turbine. Then again 4 to 1, 4 to 1 cycle. There is, we have to see in the condensations. Here the condensate can be done nothing but rejection of the heat energies can be done, and whenever there is a rejection of the heat energy, so heat energy is directly proportional to entropy, nothing but there is a decreasing in the entropy. So this cycle is very important as per exam point of view, because this is the modified cycle as compared to the Carnot paper cycles. The abbreviation is given. B stand for boiler, T stand for turbine, steam turbine we call it as. C condenser, F is the feed pumps, H is the heater, and S is the superheaters. Now the last one cycle, it's all about the reheat cycle. There is a certain amount of the disadvantage drawbacks is available in the Rankine vapor cycles. So that's drawbacks we have to utilize or we have to overcome in the reheat cycles. So here it can be indicating that reheat, as the name indicate, reheat means heating is already done in the Carnot as well as the Rankine, but again we are going to be adding the heater. Okay, so what is the changes in the diagram? Boiler is there, superheat already is there as the Rankine. Condenser is there, heat pump plus compressor, heater is there. Just the important thing is nothing but reheat is added. But where the reheat is located? So reheat is located between two different turbines. Means the first one change is reheater section is added in between two different pressure turbine. So the turbine can be split into two types. First one turbine is the high pressure turbine, and second one turbine, it's a low pressure turbine. So here this turbine, if we use the single turbine, whether it's a high pressure or whether it's a low pressure, then what exactly happen? The turbine utilize the high pressure steam, and whenever the pressure is fall down by the utilization of steam, then it can be directly exhausted. There is no utilization of the low pressure steam, while the low pressure steam is again having a capability to turn the blades of the turbine. But even though the capacity of turbine is very high, so the low pressure steam turbine is directly exhausted to the condenser. So we are going to be split the two turbine here going to be placed. First one turbine is the high pressure turbine steam can utilize the kinetic energy of steam, and it can produce into a mechanical energy, and after the successful work done in the steam in the high pressure, it becomes to be a low pressure steam, and that low pressure steam is giving to the another capacity of turbine. We call it as the low pressure steam turbine. So another steam turbine is the low pressure steam turbine, is again available on the same prime move. But before the low pressure is introduced to the low pressure steam turbine, the reheater can reheat the steam. It can absorb the moisture, and it can be giving the low pressure steam turbine. So again it can be low pressure steam turbine can generate the mechanical energy. So there is a two times it can be generate the mechanical energy, and it can be giving to the same it can be giving to the same shaft. Okay. So after the work done, it can be again giving to the condensation process, feed pump process, where the pressure can be increasing, nothing but temperature increasing, like that. The heater is processed as usual as last cycle, as Rankine cycle. Okay. Boiler is as usually we have to discuss in already. Okay. Whatever the flue gases we are available from the furnace, which is utilized, which is the one of the assembly or one of the accessory of the boiler furnace, we have not shown here furnace, where exactly the actual combustion of coal can be done. That compartment we call it as a furnace. Okay. So from the furnace, the flue gases is available, which having a very high amount of temperature, near about 600 to 700 degrees Celsius amount of temperature is available for this flue gases. So flue gases is given to the preheater. So this you have to keep in mind. So flue gases heat is either giving to the reheater sections, as well as it's also giving to the heater sections. Okay, in case of reheat cycle. So there is a again and again reheated in this process. So that's why the name can be given by the scientist is the reheat cycles. And due to this reheating purpose, as well as the splitting of the turbine into two different capacity, high pressure and low pressure, so obviously there is an increase in the efficiency of steam turbine also. That's why we have to see here the graph of T versus S. So in this graph we have to see that as previously graph there are two graph we have to already studied the T versus S, the Rankine and the Carnot vapor cycles. The area under the graph covered by is indicating that the efficiency. Large area is nothing but the highly efficiency. Moderate area is nothing but the moderate efficiency, and the low area of the graph is indicating low efficiency. So if you see the all the three graph of the T versus S for all the three vapor cycles, so you have to conclude that so graph of T versus S for the reheat cycles having a very large area covered under this graph, and that's why it's indicating the very high efficient cycles for the thermal power plant. What exactly happens we have to see in shortly. Feed pumps, it can increase the temperature from particular T1 to T2 by increasing the pressure with the help of compressor. 2 to 3 dash, there is a heater sections can be there. 3 dash to 3 double dash, there is a boiling sections. With a constant temperature we are going to be adding the heat is nothing but increasing the entropy. And 3 dash to 3, that is the superheated can be there. That superheated steam is utilized in the high pressure steam turbine, and obviously it can be reducing the pressure of the steam at particular level, and it can be reheated can by, this is the very important, reheated by the reheater. That's why the cycle is named as the reheat cycle. And again it can be giving to the low pressure steam turbine, so again it can be fall down. So it can be fall down in installment. First it can be fall down, again it can be reheated, again it can be fall down. So that's why the area for these sections is can be added here as compared to the last cycles as compared to the Rankine cycles. Okay, so at the final state 6 to 1 condensation is there again finally done. So if you see the area for this curve is much more than as compared to the previous two cycles, and which is very important to know that if the area under the curve is more, it shows that the system is highly efficient system like this. Okay, the abbreviation is given as usually. Now the basic arrangement of the modern thermal power plants we have to see here, or we call it as the layout of the modern thermal power stations, in which firstly we have to see that the first sections is a coal storage where the coal can be stored. Okay, the coal can be transported from the coal mines and it can be stored nearer to the thermal power stations. So that compartment, first one compartment of the thermal power station is the coal storage. Then that coal can be handling, and what is the meaning of handling? So there can be multiple process can be done. We have to see in each and every functional block in detail, each and every lectures we have to see, but just we have to first overlook where the location of that particular department. The coal storage can store the coal handling, multiple process can be there. Okay, whatever the moisture absorbed by the coil can be rejected here, or uneven shape can be makes even shapes, triangular shapes we are making for our better uniform convention of the coal. Okay, so various handling process can be done here. Okay, we have to see in detail in next lecture. Then that highly handled or processed coal is giving to the furnace which is near to the boiler. Furnace is a location where the exactly combustion of coal can be done, and the boiler we have already studied. The boiler is convert the water into steam. That steam is superheated. Why superheated is added there? Because of the Rankine cycle. So Rankine cycle is overcome the drawbacks of the Carnots. It can be superheated the wetted steam from the boilers and it can be giving the high pressure dry saturated steam to the turbine. But before turbines, there is a one more things, that is the main valve. The valve can be increase the flow of steam or decrease the flow of steam to the turbine. Then steam turbine can be converted the kinetic energy of steam into mechanical energy, and that mechanical energy is giving to the generator for the conversion mechanical to electrical energy. And in this way, simply straight line manner, the power plant can be worked. Now another system is nothing but the auxiliary major, we also called as the major part or major portion is there, but it can be supported by in order to increase the efficiency of thermal power. So these lines can be indicating, these lines straight line can be indicating the working of the steam power plants. Now after the work done by the coal combustions in the furnace, okay, whatever the ash can be generated, so that ash is giving to the ash handling plant. Ash having a very large volume and it's a very light in weight, okay, so that's why we are adding some water or some another liquids in order to decrease the volume for proper handling, and that's we call ash handling plants. All the processes are done here, and it can be giving to the last one stage is nothing but the ash storage. We are making a dig in which we have to dispose that ash. Otherwise the next one process is nothing but you have to transport ash to the ocean and you have to dispose it into the center of the seashore, center of the ocean, okay. So there is a multiple methods is available at the ash storage as handling plants. Another one cycle it can be giving flue gases. During the burning of coal, the production of ash as well as the production of flue gases is happening there, okay. So the flue gas is having a very high temperature, near about 6 to 700 degrees Celsius temperature is available. So that high temperature is utilized by the superheater as we have to explain in the Rankine vapor cycle. Then the heat of the flue gases is utilized for the superheater firstly for their function. What is the function of superheater? Wet steam converted into a dry steam. Okay. Water droplets containing steam containing into the converted into a dry steam. That is the only the function of superheater, and for that it requires to be heat and it can utilize the heat from the flue gases, and then it can be giving economizer. Economizer is a things in between feed pumps and boiler. We call it as the heater, where in case of cycles we namely it as the heater, and here in this case we call it as the economizer. So economizer utilize the heat energy from the flue gases in order to heat up the water which is available from the heat pumps, and then it can be heat hot waters can be giving or provided to the boilers. Then after that flue gases is entered into the air preheaters, as per the name indicates is air preheater. So it can be heated the air before we have to introduce it air into the boiler. Now there is a question why the hot air is required at boiler. Why hot air is required at boiler? Because the boiler there is a furnace and there is a actually combustion of coal is done. For combustion of coal, so the hot air as well as the coal is required. So hot air required for the furnace, not for the boiler, but here it can be giving the boiler container is inbuilt containing the furnace as well as the externally they are connected to the boiler. So there are the multiple types of the boiler is available. We have to see in it in detail in the next lectures. Okay. Airs, the draft fan can be absorb the air from the environment and it can be heated by the preheater, and hot air is given to the boilers. Then the flue gases, lastly, it can be given to the chimney, and chimney can escape the flue gases at particular height to the environments, at particular levels of the environments. Okay, so the draft system is very important. Air preheaters we have to see in next lecture. economizer, superheaters, we have to see like this. Then another one is nothing but main process is the condenser. After the work done in the turbine, the steam can be done their work in the turbine to rotate the blades of the turbine. Means kinetic energy of steam is converted into mechanical energy, and after the work done, that can be given to the condenser for their condensation. Condensation process, there is a cooling towers is required. Okay, we have to not see in the cooling towers in details because it's already covered in your diploma examinations, and in case of our degree portions, this is not important, or this is not exactly multiple times it can be asked in the examinations, cooling towers. But you have to just keep in mind the condensation process is can be done with the help of the cooling towers. Cooling towers also take the water from the various rivers or the lake which is nearby the thermal power plants. Okay, so there is a circulating pump is available in order to pumping the water from the rivers, and it can be circulated to the condensations. Okay, so the hot water inside, cold water inside and hot water outside, that phenomena we have to see in the basic diagram. So that is not like that, so that is the things is like that. So cold water take from the rivers, it can be given to the condenser where the heat can be rejected, that can be absorbed by the water, and it becomes to be hot and it's given to the external surface. Then condensated water can be again pumped and it can be given to the boiler. So directly that pumping heat pump water is not directly given to the boiler. There is another process is nothing but the reheat. We have to already studied the reheat cycle. So reheater is available in between. Okay, an economizer is nothing but heater, and it can be giving then to the boiler process. Okay, so in this way this whole system, so we have to study it here, the layout of modern thermal power plants. Now, where the site selection of thermal power stations, where we want to select the site for the thermal power stations. The first one concept is nothing but the availability of raw materials. Okay, where the raw materials is available, and what is the requirement of the raw material for thermal power stations. So obviously the raw material is nothing but the coal, that is the fuel. Where the coal mines is available nearby the area, then that site is very much effective for selection of the thermal power plants. Okay, so the you have to select the site which is very near to the raw materials, that is nearer to the coal mines. Then next one thing is the nature of the lands. As we know that there is a main components is available in the thermal power plants, which is a boiler as well as the steam turbine, or we have to see in the condenser heat pumps also, that having a very heavy weight. So whatever the land you have to select it for the thermal power plants is much able to bear the weight, that bear the weight of that particular equipment which already used in the thermal power plant. So the nature of land is you have to select it like that. So bearing capacity of the land is must be tested while selecting the thermal power plants. Then next one things is nothing but the cost of the land. uh, Very costly land is not affordable for the thermal power station because the huge area is required, and if the cost of land is much more, so the capital cost is goes on increasing, so the cheap rate of the land is required to select. So that's why very outside of the city area or very outside of the urban area, we have to select the location for the thermal power plants in order to another reason as well as this third one, that is the cost of land. So cost of land is must be cheap, but having a much more having bearing capacity, but the cost is cheap. Then most of the important availability of the water. So thermal power plant mainly done the burning of coal, ash can be generated, and for that ash handling, lot much amount of water can be available. Then second one water application is the boiler. Obviously boiler convert the water into steam, so input of the boiler is nothing but the water. So whole plants is required, very ample storage of the water is required nearby the site you have to select it for the thermal power plants. And next one is nothing but the transport facility. Transport facility is all about for the transportation of coal and primarily transportation of the various components which is required for the installation of thermal power. If we have to selected a site where the transportation facility means road or rail road is not available, then how to transport the various major components, how to transport the boiler at that particular location. So select a site which is nearer to the road, which is nearer or nearby to the rail lines like that. Okay. So we have to extend the rail lines or the road lines in order to reach the transportations materials to the thermal power plants. Then next one is the ash disposal facility, which is very important for the thermal power plants, and that becomes a very big challenges in case of our thermal power plant where we dispose the ash. If there is no nearby ocean is available, then where we dispose the ash? Because the ash is very light in weight and it's very uh, large in volume, so that's why we have to added the water, but after some days the water can be absorbed by the ash and it can be decomposed and it can be again becomes to be light, and uh, in the area you have to select it in the thermal power plants, it can be sprayed there. Also it's a toxic in nature because it's a carbon compound. There is a coal, so obviously it's a precipitations of the coal obviously contain that the carbon, and the carbon is very dangerous for the nearby our agriculture land or fertilizer lands or nearby our populated area and like that. Okay, so that's why the ash disposal facilities becomes to be a very headache for the thermal power plants. Next one is the load center. The site selections for the thermal power plants is nearer to the loads. Why? Because the transportation of electricity. Transportation facility is another thing, but a transmission, we call it as a transmission of electricity. Transmission of electricity is required to be less. Number of transmission lines is required to be less, because the less transmission is nothing but the resistance can be less, then there the current can be less, and obviously there the I square R losses is can be less. In short, we call it T and D losses is less if we locate your thermal power stations nearer to the load center. That times your obviously transmission losses goes on decreasing. Future extension. You have to select a site where the future extension is available. Otherwise, you have to select a site where the another future extension is not available. Then, in case of futures, if you want to increase the unit of thermal power plants, 2 to 3 unit, 3 to 4 unit, or as the demand goes on increasing, then it becomes a futures point of view. It becomes to be a problem if there is no extension is available. So, firstly, select a site where the future extension is available, and availability of labor, it's nearer to the load center is nothing but nearer to the city town where the easily the laborers can be available for our work, because right from the installation, right from the running condition, operating conditions, we have to require to be much more manpower, and for that manpower, so thermal power plant is not very much away from the populated area where the no one labor can be reached there. Okay, so that's why the availability of the labor is only and only increase when you select the site which is nearer to the load center. Public problems. When we are going to select thermal power stations near to the load center, nothing but near to the city, near to the town, then that town peoples is opposing to the thermal power plant because of the first thing is nothing but it uh, produces a pollution. Second one things is nothing but ash. Surrounded area is contaminated by the ash, and the ash is the toxic in nature, so the agricultural land is completely destroyed. Their whatever they can produce in the agricultural land, they can be destroyed by this carbon compound, coal, ash. And another one thing is nothing but whenever there is a coal can be transported from the coal mines to the thermal power plants, so the coal can be tipped by the public which is nearer to the thermal power plants. Okay, so these are the multiple number of the public provinces available, but it's having a very least priority while you are going to be select a site for the thermal power plants. Okay, so main important is the thing, but the nearer to the coal mine, first availability of water, then second one, nature of land, bearing capacity should be available, cost of land, cheap cost is there, transportation facility nearer to the road or rail, as disposal, there is much areas available to produce a digs, and we have to merge that ash into that digs. Then load center, nearer to the load center, in order to reduce the transmission losses. Future extensions means the much more scope is available for increase the number of units in the future. Availability of labors, nearer to the load center is nothing but the manpowers can be easily available. So these are the site selections for the thermal power plants. Okay, so this is all about the today's lectures, and in next lectures we will see the next concept. Thank you for watching this video.